everyone and welcome to today's video, which is my top 23 books of 2023. So I do have 23 books that are all varying genres and actually varying ratings, because I did have a goal in 2023 to be more harsh with my ratings, and I definitely was. So I only ended up having 13 5 stars, and a few of them were actually mangas in the same series. So I feel like I should count them as one, which means I had even less 5 stars. I was actually quite surprised, because in the past I would rate nearly every book like a 4 or 5 stars. So I was very harsh, and there definitely are some more books that I read in the year that I really enjoyed, but I just was really harsh with my ratings. But I feel like I want to go back to my old ways. It was so scary rating my books in 2023. I was like, is it like higher than this book, but is it lower than this book? It was so stressful. So I'm just going to go in 2024, if I like a book, I like a book. Because I don't know, like I was getting scared sometimes of rating these books that I really enjoyed, and they were like 3 stars because I didn't love it as much as some other books that I rated a 4 or 5 stars. So kind of stressful, but I do have only my 4 to 5 star books in this video. A lot of them were like 4.25, 4.5 or 4.75 as well. So I'm going to go through them all, and I'm not going to do these in any particular order because they're just in piles in front of me. So I'm just going to pick them up and talk about them when I'm ready. But first I might actually go through the books that I don't have physical copies of, that way we can just get them out of the way. First, I must mention Spy Family, which is the manga series that I was reading in 2023. I read about 8 or 9 volumes, I think maybe 8 volumes. Absolutely loved it. I don't think I rated any of them below a 4 stars. There's nothing bad I can say about the series. It was so much fun. But if you didn't know what this is about, it's about a spy who needs to have a fake family to complete a mission. So he gets this girl to be his wife, but she's actually an assassin. They both don't know that each other is a spy and an assassin, and then they adopt a daughter and she has telepathy, so she can read their minds. They all don't know, except the daughter knows, because obviously she can read the minds and know that the mum's an assassin and the dad's a spy. And she's like freaking out the whole time, but they all don't know each other's secrets, and it's just so interesting. Loved it so much, and I'm really excited to continue this series in the new year. Next we have Unnecessary Drama, and this is one of my first reads of 2023, like in January. Absolutely loved it. This was a 5 stars. I read it in audio format, and I read it like really quickly because I was painting at the same time, so I had it on like double speed and I was really enjoying it. It was like the perfect book for me, and I absolutely loved it. I don't have a bad thing I could say about this, but it's just like a normal contemporary following characters that are like heading off to university, and I liked it. I don't know what I can say, but it's just something about that main character that just like I could see myself in. From the rewatches of Vampire Diaries, I was just like, yeah, that's literally me. So I really enjoyed this one, and I would definitely recommend. The next book is Lockwood & Co., which I loved so much. I watched the TV show, and after finding out it was cancelled, I got really upset. So I was like, now I have to read the books because I want to find out what else has happened. So I have read the first 3 in that series, but the first one was my favourite just because it's just like the vibes. The vibes. I love the vibes. Oh, it's like so good. It's about these teens that are ghost hunters, and it's just like everything that I want it to be. Kind of like a little found family, and they have powers because they can see ghosts and everything, and it's just like so good. If you haven't watched that show, would definitely recommend as well, because that was also great. Still so disappointed that it got cancelled though. Next we have The Poppy War. This was absolutely wild. Such a great fantasy. There is definitely some like aspects of it. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it was disgusting in some bits because the war crimes, like I can't even talk about it because it's a lot. It's a lot. So if you're gonna read the book, I would definitely recommend looking up trigger warnings just in case, because it was a bit much. There was some bits that made me feel nauseous, but I really enjoyed like the first half of the book when she's at the school and she's learning like all the combat training and all the stuff and going to the classes. I liked that bit, but then when it gets into like the war bit, it gets real and it gets scary, and I really want to read the rest of this series, but I did read this on Kindle and I don't have the other 2. So I really want to buy like the physical books as well, because I feel like they're like such great fantasy books and I want them on my shelves. But 5 stars it was, but it's just wow. Wow. Next we have How Does It Feel, which is a book that I read in December, and it was absolutely wild. Absolutely crazy. I still don't know how to feel. I'm literally in shock. There were so many plot twists, so many reveals that I was just not expecting. And usually, like in a book, sometimes I can guess what's going on. Like I'm like, yeah, that's going to be the plot twist because you can see it all lining up. This had me shocked and surprised. I still I don't know what to do. Like I don't even know what to do with my hands because like I'm like, ah. Like it was so crazy. Would definitely recommend you read it though because I did not expect a single thing that was coming and I was just like so surprised. I must say though that the beginning bit can be a little bit slow just because she's in the human realm. This is a fantasy book if I didn't already say. But she's in the human realm for like a good chunk of the first half of the book and you're like, well, when's it going to pick up? But then she goes into the fairy realm and that's when it like gets good. So if you're starting it and you're like, why are we just seeing a biologist looking for moths in the forest? Don't worry, it does get better. I literally think about all the plot twists and how they fit in with the story and I'm in shock. I cannot wait for the rest of the series. I don't know when the second one's going to come out, but oh my gosh, I would definitely recommend that one. And the last book that I don't have a physical copy of is Lovelight Farms, and I did read this on audiobook and it was just like so cute. It's a Christmas book and she owns a Christmas tree farm and it's fake dating and friends to lovers and it was just like so cute. Then next I have another Christmas book which was A Holly Jolly Ever After, which is a second in a companion series and it was just really good. It follows like the filming of a movie and then the co-stars fall in love. Like it's cute. I liked it. Next, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Like I don't know. Like what do you want me to say other than it's Emily Henry, it was a great book. I love Emily Henry. I loved this book. It follows a literary agent and an editor and it's also like somewhat a small town romance as well. It was just like so good. And I really enjoyed this. Everything from the setting to the way she writes the characters, I don't think I'll ever not like an Emily Henry book and this one was just like perfect as always. Speaking of perfect as always, Loves Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali Hazelwood. I love this book. I think this might be my favourite of hers that I've read so far. Oh, it was just so good. So good. And this is another one of her books that follow like a STEM setting. So obviously Love Hypothesis, we had biologists. Love on the Brain, I think was like set in NASA. I haven't read that one yet. But this one was about physicists. Again, I don't know anything about science. So like I don't really know what's going on. But it makes me feel like I'm learning something while I'm reading. Because I'm like, yeah, physics. What do I know of physics? I don't. But like, it's so cute, so good. I don't think I have a bad thing to say about this book. Really enjoyed this. This was a 5 stars if you couldn't already tell by the way I'm talking about it. Next we have Crushing by Genevieve Novak. I really enjoyed Genevieve Novak's writing as well. I also rated her first release 5 stars last year as well. Last year being 2022, not 2023 because we are in 2024 right now. That's confusing. It doesn't feel like it's the new year. Anyway, I rated her first book a 5 stars as well. That one was No Hard Feelings. Really enjoyed that. Enjoyed this just as much. She's an Australian author and this is set in Melbourne and I love it. It feels so real. The characters feel like real people and it feels like I'm talking to a friend. And there's like lots of drama. It's everything you would want in a contemporary book and I just love it so much. Next I have another absolute favourite which is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. It's a cozy fantasy with witches and it's just the cutest book I've ever read. It's got found family, it's got witches, it's got a romance subplot, it's got everything. It just felt so magical, so cozy, so fun. I would definitely recommend you read it because like, why wouldn't you? But it's about a witch who gets invited to this house to teach these 3 young witches magic and she's confused because in this world witches aren't allowed to like congregate because bad things happen. So she's like, how did these 3 witches get to be together and how does no one know about them? So she goes off to teach and then she falls in love with the librarian and then there's like some older people at the house as well. It's like this huge whole found family. Loved the whole thing. Definitely giving practical magic vibes and I love it. Next is a book that like nearly everyone read in 2023 and nearly everyone loved and I'm no exception. I read and loved this book. It was Fourth Wing and I really enjoyed it. I tabbed it and I do have a reading vlog on this if you do want to see it, but it's just dragons. dragons that talk, and enemies to lovers, and a magical school, and a war, and dragons. I just love this so much. I still haven't read Iron Flame, but I have heard mixed opinions on that. Like, I've seen people that loved Fourth Wing, read Iron Flame, and now don't want to read the rest of the series, or like just were really disappointed, and I don't know how to feel. I'm kind of nervous, but I loved this, so yeah, 5 stars. Okay, next I have a few mystery books. First is Death of a Bookseller. This was crazy. This was wild. We've got 2 perspectives of our 2 main characters. There's stalkers, there's true crime obsessions, and it's crazy. I would definitely recommend it. It was like absolutely wild. Set in England, set around people that work at a bookstore, and obviously, as I was saying, serial killers and true crime and murder and stalking. Stalking, heavy on the stalking, let me just say that. But it was like really, really interesting, so I would definitely recommend. Also, one of the main characters has a snail as a pet, which I just think is so strange. Then I have Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers, and whilst this is a mystery, it is more of a cozy mystery, and there is a found family as well, and it's just super cute, but it also follows a murder. So it was really interesting and captivating, but not something super scary either. So if you want to read mystery books, but you don't like the scary, gruesome, murdery vibes, I would recommend reading this book. This is also by the same author as Dial A for Aunties, which I absolutely loved. Those books. I believe the 3rd one's coming out in 2024, isn't it? Because I read the 2nd one 2022, I think. I forgot there's a 3rd one. Let me look that up because I didn't put that in my anticipated releases, but I'm anticipating it. When is it? Because I think that's like the last one in the series. Oh my gosh, it is. It's coming out in March 2024. Goodness me. How did I forget about that? I didn't put that in my anticipated releases. Maybe I need to make a part 2 for that video because I've been seeing more books and I'm like, hey wait, I'm excited for that and I didn't mention it yet, so anywho, this book, really good. But it follows Vera, who owns a tea shop, and then someone is found dead in her tea shop. So she tries to solve the murder and she gets all the suspects together and tries to pick out who the murderer is, so it's just like really good. Then I have The Running Club, which is another mystery. This one's set in Australia and it follows a running club, and one person in the running club gets murdered. So they're trying to figure out if any of the other people in the club are the murderers, but like all these people in the club, they're all like really, really rich, and they live in this like suburb where they're really rich and they run together. I'm not explaining this very well, my gosh. Really enjoyed it. This one also does have multiple perspectives, and you do get like a bit of time jumps as well in the perspectives. So we get chapters from in the past of the character that was murdered, and then we also get chapters from the characters in the present, and they're all like discussing things, secrets getting revealed, and because they're rich people with secrets, it's like really interesting. Next we have Starling House, which is like a gothic fantasy with a sentient house, and the magic is really interesting. It's set in a small town and it's like kind of mysterious, there's secrets, and it's just really good. Definitely recommend. The writing was like also really nice as well, and there were pictures in the book, which is so much fun. But I just really enjoyed this. I read this in October and I felt like it was like the perfect vibes, somewhat spooky, but it's also a fantasy. And then there's also like demons-ish. But I really enjoyed that. Okay, we're getting into the last stack. And the first one in this stack is Crave. It's funny. It's a funny book. It is cheesy, vampire, boarding school, witches, shapeshifters, but I really liked it. I gave this like a 4 stars, and I do have like the 2nd and 3rd book in the series, which I got like around my birthday, and I really am looking forward to continuing this series because it was like such a fun time. Like, I don't know what I can say. It is giving all of the things I wanted it to give. Supernatural boarding school, hello? I love it. I just love it. Next I have Bitterthorn, which I swear I've talked about so much over the past year because I really enjoyed this. This is also like another gothic fantasy. It's got a really interesting magic system as well, which I'm not going to actually explain because it might like spoil things in the book. But there's like a witch as well that lives on this secluded mountain type thing in a tower, and then our main character like sacrifices herself on behalf of the town because the witch like steals someone from the town like every like 50 or so years. So yeah, it follows that whole journey. Again, lots of reveals, lots of secrets and mysteries, and it was just really interesting. And as I said, I really enjoyed the magic system. I had never read anything like that before, and it was just so good. Would definitely recommend. Then I have Die For You by Lauren Jackson, which is another vampire book. It has a vampire romance. This one is set in Australia though, which is so cool because I've never read a vampire book set in Australia, but it follows our main character who's trying to track down her sister who everyone believed was dead, but she thinks that she's alive. So she's going to like try and find her sister, and she thinks that a vampire has taken her. So she's like going through that whole journey trying to track down a vampire, and she falls in love with one. So yay! And this is going to be a series as well, so I'm really excited to read the rest of this. Then we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the Hunger Games prequel, and I loved it. It was so good. I read this in anticipation for the movie, loved them both. It was amazing. It's about President Snow when he was younger, and I just loved it. I don't know what else I can say. Like, it's the Hunger Games. What do you expect of me? Of course I was going to enjoy it. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn, Hugo. I don't know why it took me this long to read this book. I had this on my shelf for like 2 or 3 years before I finally picked it up. It was so good. 5 stars. Loved it. Hello? I don't know if I just get scared because it's like historical fiction somewhat, and I don't often read historical fiction, but it was just so good. Set in like old Hollywood, and it's so good. Don't know why it took me this long to read it because I loved Daisy Jones and the Six as well, so I was like, why did I not pick this up sooner? Who knows? And I know I just said that I don't often read historical fiction, but I do have another. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. This is a historical fiction with fantasy aspects, and it's like set in Regency era, so it's kind of Bridgerton vibes, but we have pirates with flying houses. I don't even know if I need to say anything else because that alone should be enough to convince you to read this book, but I gave this a 5 stars. It was so good. The humour, the setting, the romance, oh, it was all just so good, and I'm so excited that this is a trilogy because I will be reading the rest super soon. So I expect you'll probably see them in my 2024 favourites because it's just so good. And we're up to the final book, the 23rd book in my 23 favourites of 2023, which is The Crimson Moth, which is actually a 2024 release, but this was like the last book that I read in December. This is an arc, obviously, because it does come out in February, but it was just so good. It's an enemies to lovers with a witch and a witch hunter. There's secret identities, and it was everything I wanted to be and more. I absolutely loved this. Cannot wait for it to come out in February because I gave this a 5 stars, and you should all be excited to read it because it was just so good. Also, have to mention, I keep forgetting this and I always have to mention it because although this is called The Crimson Moth, I believe it's also called The Heartless Hunter in other countries. So I think if you're in the US, look for Heartless Hunter, but if you're in the UK and Australia, it's called The Crimson Moth. So there you go. But like in this, the witches like once ruled the country, but now they don't, and they're hunted, and it's like 2 years after this revolution where all like the humans fought back against the witches, and now they've taken over and they're trying to like kill all the witches. So you should read it when it comes out. I loved it so much. So those are my 23 books that I loved in 2023. I would love to know what books you enjoyed in 2023 because maybe then I can read them in 2024. Also would love to know if you've read any of these books and if you enjoyed them as well. But that is the end of the video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below because I do post new videos every single Saturday, and I have been posting a lot more frequently recently, so you do not want to miss a new upload. I also recommend hitting the notification bell so you do know when I upload. But that is it for today. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!